The bucket list is looking like...
Dude, the sexual bucket list was insane, and I did most everything that I wanted to do.
Yeah.
I mean, I was back then having orgies, having fucking threesomes, having all that shit all the time.
Really?
You know, like, it was the 90s.
Killa Kela Podcast. KillaKelaOfficial.com. 101.4 FM, 24 hours a day, all genres.
XFM.co.uk.
Beatbox created.
Killa Kela.
And we're here to talk about world music and street culture.
Killa Kela Podcast.
Very good. What a beautiful setting again.
Glorious.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Killa Kela Podcast, live and direct. We are in West Hollywood, Sunset Strip. Big shout out to Graffiti Kings, all friends that are subscribing and staying locked on to the ultimate street culture and street music podcast. You know I do. So with that in mind, we're flipping it on you. And my goodness, has she got a story and more to tell. Figure in Los Angeles, figure in the clubland, malicious merchandise, branding, you name it, punk enthusiast and more. This is Malice Mc Munn.
Hello.
How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Good. How's that
Hi,
intro
everybody.
for you?
Love it.
Yeah?
It's beautiful.
It was a win, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It's like you know, I'm from around these parts and I just know the ins and outs of the, I mean, not a shadow over you, of course.
Mm-hmm.
What's been going on, girl?
Well, you know, just out here living the dream in beautiful, sunny California.
It's a little more colder than normal, isn't it?
It is, and everyone who lives out here, we're super adapted to like 80 degrees constant. So if it's ever below 80, we're all like, oh God, everybody, I'm dying.
The roads, the cars stop, time stops.
Oh, if it rains, no one goes anywhere. No, it's over.
I remember I was planned to do a New Year's gig here. I think it was with Black Eyed Peas. It was
So
a
cool.
big event. Yeah, it was one of those kind of roadblock kind of events, and I was so down below in the lineup. But nonetheless, I was super excited, and it turned out the heavens opened. It rained off, and to us who are Brits, you know, this isn't. You know what I mean?
No, I'm from Portland, Oregon originally. All it does is rain, and we do everything in the rain.
Yeah, totally. They shut it all down. That's the way. That's the mentality, isn't it?
That is the mentality here. Like anytime when I was dancing here, anytime it would rain, I'd be like, well, no customers are coming out tonight.
Mm-hmm.
No one's going to drive in the rain. And when they do, they go 2 miles an hour. It's really ridiculous. I hate the rain, though. I hate it. I'm glad to be out of it. And I don't really want to go outside in the rain either.
No.
But I think it's a little ridiculous if people get, like, because this is the thing about people here. They all say they love it because it doesn't ever happen here. So I love it when it rains. And I'm like, well, why don't you go out then? If it's so good, go be out in it.
Yeah.
But they don't.
They're not ready for that. They're not ready for that. They're not ready for British weather either. I mean, that alone.
No, they would die.
But yeah, I mean, for those of you that are just stepping up to speed right now, we do need to go back to go forward, because I know you well in what you do and your trajectory to a point. And this is where
I don't even know what I do.
This is where it gets exciting for me, because, you know, we're talking about street culture and the different dynamics that make it, fashion. I delve into punk and its association with grime, and hip hop and its association with trap and drum and bass, and there are these outer fringes of street culture which often they are super, like skateboarding, tattoo, stripping, the kind of more the undertones of what nightlife is about and what street culture is about. And I know you hit so many marks, and it'd be great to get into the story, man. Get into the story. So where did it begin?
I mean, I would say, you know, from 17, getting kicked out of foster care, I was a street punk for years. Like, I just lived out of my backpack. I hitchhiked from, like, my foster homes were up in, like, Everett, Washington, north of Seattle. And I hitchhiked first to Seattle, which is 20 miles from where I was in foster care. But, you know, I was there for a while, just sleeping on the streets, which is freaking cold. In Seattle, homeless people just sleep under bridges.
That's haunting. That's a horrible idea.
It's horrible. But when you're young and you're high and fucked up, you don't really care. And
so this was like a punk. This was straight punk.
I mean, this was early 90s.
Yeah.
And then from there, hitchhiked from Portland all the way down to Oregon to San Francisco. And when I got to San Francisco, that was like, I forgot to mention, in Portland, I met a girl, and like she was like my little girlfriend for a while, and we were like, both of us were into skateboarding, and like so me and her were like into punk, like metal, goth, all that shit, but also into skateboarding, and both me and her also wanted to like really do harder drugs than everyone else was doing. So we were like, we both looked even younger than we were. I was like 17, she was probably, she maybe was 15, 16, I don't know, she was younger than me, but we both were like, dude, fuck this speed shit, this shit's whack, let's fucking get some fucking dope, let's do some heroin. And like we were always trying to get her from like dudes and people that we knew, and they're like, no, you guys are babies, and we're like, fuck you, we're not babies. And so we just like
crazy.
there we go, LA.
Oh, sorry, LA.
Then we hitchhiked down to San Francisco. The day we got there, we got heroin and did it. So we were like fucking shooting dope, skateboarding, like going to all the skateboarding spots all high.
That's insane. Like, I mean, culturally, that does not I know. That's such a crazy notion. One of which you'd only ever see on TV as a kid when you was growing up back in the UK. Like, what was the motivation behind like doing that? Like, I can't imagine being that age and just being like, hey, I'm gonna fuck about and do things a lot more harder than you lot. I'm gonna do the harder drugs. I'm gonna skate and fucking, rip harder. Like,
it was just, I think, coming from, I mean, honestly, I think it started from me, like, just, like, always being around addicts.
See? OG motorbike business.
Nothing but motorcycles on Sunset Boulevard.
Love it. Love it.
But it was basically coming from, I think we all just, like, straight up, I was always around addicts and alcoholics, and I kind of just thought that it was so predictable. Like, I was like, oh, you're gonna get drunk, you're gonna fucking fight each other at the end of the night, blah blah blah, like same old story. And I was like, I wanted an adventure. And I legit, and I say this all the time in things, and it sounds so dumb when I say it, but it's the fucking truth, I thought the world was gonna end in 2000. I really did. I wholeheartedly was like, all these like Nostradamus predicted, like some 2001 shit, like
cutting out.
Oh yeah, there was like, and I was like, everything's already been done. There like can't possibly be like life after 2000 or 2001. And everyone was like the Y2K thing. Shit's gonna fucking. I just thought, you know, it was the 90s, and I thought it was like, the world's overpopulated. I mean, look at it now.
Oh yeah.
I was just like,
worse luck, it's still, it didn't happen. We're still breeding.
I know. It's so crazy. And I was just like, there's no way so I'm just going to party like it's 1999. I'm going to fucking do all the things. And before I die, I also, even if the world didn't end, I didn't really I was hella suicidal. I was like, I don't want to live either. So
do you think that was part of the motivation of like, well, if I'm feeling like I'm going to die, then in principle, I don't want to miss the party, so I'm just gonna I want everyone else to go.
Well, it's part of that, and then it's part of like, well, before I die, I want to try all the things.
Do you feel like you accomplished that over that? I mean, these were early.
I've literally done everything on my bucket list except for some traveling destinations I've never made it to. But like, as far as like trying all the things I wanted to try, like there might be like a few sexual escapades I haven't ever done, but like really, I think I did just about everything on my bucket list.
The bucket list is looking like.
Dude, the sexual bucket list was insane, and I did most everything that I wanted to do. I mean, I was back then having orgies, having fucking threesomes, having all that shit all the time.
Really?
Like, it was the 90s. That's I
well, yeah, and you hear these. Well, it's funny. We were actually, before we got into this, we were talking about the decline of Western civilization.
Yeah.
So for those of you who don't know you won't know what that is at all. But there's these documentaries that were made back in like the early 80s.
80s to 80s up until the 90s.
Yeah. And anyone that's into like punk or metal or anywhere in between, you'd have orbited to these things like the Bible, and
they are,
and that was very much the order of the day. Those documentaries really displayed, like Wild Style, Star Wars would be.
Oh, I
hip-hop,
love those. Yeah,
right?
I've seen all those too, because I mean, I had all my friends in SF did graffiti, and we're in like the Piece by Piece documentary and like some of those ones. And, like they honestly, I didn't know how prolific my friends were until like one of my guy friends went to prison like 3 times for it, and I was just like, damn. And then I saw he was in a bunch of books. I was like, oh, that's what you were doing when I was fucking nodding out. Oh, cool.
Yeah, that's mad. There is a relationship between, when I say street culture, I mean it as broad as we like. There is a relationship between punk and hip hop, and reggae. There is something. It was almost like the reggae adopted punk back in the late 70s.
Yeah, they had the ska and like all that kind of shit. I will say that the punk culture that I was around was really kind of anti-reggae, and I think that just comes from there was always kind of like a little conflict between like northwestern style punks and like southern punks.
Really, what in LA? Or in the
yeah,
country?
because like even I think it went all the way down to San Francisco. San Francisco was the divide. Punks south of San Francisco to us were kind of like too comfortable. Like they didn't really have it hard. You didn't have to ever sleep in the rain or the cold, and you would never like, like I think that we always were like, oh, they're gonna wear flip flops. Like, how are you gonna be ready to fight if you got flip flops on?
yeah, there's no
like,
ninja moves.
You're not in survival mode like we are if you're wearing flip flops. So like it was like the kind of punks that were like, like into Sublime or like bands like that. We were kind of just like, okay, you can't, you're never gonna be ready when shit hits the fan. Like, but because we were always wearing boots and fucking like ready to fight. I
mean, when you think to consider that's insane when you put it in context with what goes on in this world. And again, the decline of Western civilization mode, the hedonism and just like general no fucks given. It was fun times. Like, it's crazy to think that now that would ever happen here.
Yeah, well, because I mean, the way I look at it now, it's like the way that we lived back then, we lived like we had nothing to lose, and we didn't give a shit like what happened to us, because like either the world is ending. Even the kids that didn't think the world was ending, they literally didn't give a fuck if they like got in a fight with cops and like all that kind of shit. And I mean, we did that sometimes, and I was just like, I was a little I was scrawnier than I am now. I've always been scrawny, but I would be ready to scrap with anyone. And I don't fight, like, but I would just be like, I'm ready though, if you need me, I'm ready. Like,
let's go.
Just, do you want to fucking try me? I'll go, because I just didn't give a fuck. But like, no one really challenged me when I was a straight punk, because they were just like confused that I would be ready, because they would, like if anyone ever tried to like talk shit to me, I'd just be like, let's go, and they'd just be like, there's something suspicious why she's like not scared. Because I just when you're suicidal, you don't give a shit. You're like, what are you gonna do, beat me up? I
chat with a lot of graph writers over here in the UK on podcasts, and there is something about the lifestyle that leans towards an attitude of, well, it can only get worse from here, so I'm just going to graffiti. Like, I'm doing art, and it's my way of releasing energy. It's preventing me going backwards, where I could quite easily fall into like some bad places. At least this is the conduit to help me make it happen. When you're suicidal and you're in this place where it's like, well, I'm gonna fuck around. I'll fuck you up. I don't care anyway. My back's already against the wall. I guess there is a similar sort of sentiment that plays in the mind, isn't it? Yeah,
it's like that. And I think like part of like, I mean, I did like a little tagging, back then too, because like, I mean, all my friends did it, and I just was like, I didn't realize, like I said, that they were like real. I just was fucking scratching around and doing. I wrote hooker. I did a little hooker, right?
Nice.
And like, just thought it was cute or whatever. And but like, like I think it's also like you wanted to claim your spots, your territory, and like leave some evidence that you existed, because you were like, I'm probably gonna die tomorrow, and I just want people to know that I was here. So it's like that kind of a mentality too, where you're like, I don't have any meaning, like it's like you just feel insignificant sometimes. Just like, my life doesn't even matter, but let me just fucking leave some evidence that I was here. Not that even, like, in reality, like I think about it now, I'm like it doesn't even matter.
Yeah, no, it doesn't matter. And here's the other thing as well, I think as artists we all do that, like as significant if you flip it on its head, like with social media being the way it is, and the output in which people can make things, it feels like now that you can't do enough, and it turns into making a mark. When you think about the legacy that someone like Bowie created, and how will he be significant in 5 years from now? Well, feels like it was a big impact he made, but we just don't know.
It will be, but this is the thing. It's because, I mean, it's like that whole Andy Warhol thing. Everybody gets their 15 minutes of fame in the future. And like, so like everyone's fighting for that scrap of it or whatever. But I mean, at the same time, not everybody is like that. I think some of us are wired like that because our legacy isn't to make children and have them be our legacy. Or some people, it's both, you know. But like, I never thought of like having kids and like, you know, when people are all like, oh, like, don't you want, you know, like someone to carry your name? Like, it's not even my name. I was born with this shit. I don't give a fuck. Like, I don't know, like, really a lot about my, you know, like, I lived with my mom and dad and off and on before I was in foster care, but like, I don't think we really need to like keep reading that. I don't know. Just like, I don't know. I don't think it's bad, but it's not like we came from some epic shit.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I think that's why, you know, like, I was driven to kind of like, you know, put my tag up, and some of my friends were too. It's just like a way to be like, I was here and like I mattered. You know?
Yeah. Your life. You said then about it's not a selfish thing, because if you have made a decision not to do something, you're A, at peace with that decision, but B, you recognize that actually it'd be selfish to you by you know, passing on your genes, you know what I mean? Some people see it
well, I
selfish.
think it is selfish in a way, because we're living in a planet that's already being depleted
Consumed,
of all of its things.
Why
and
do you think people don't see that though? It doesn't seem like or the money gets them blurred, and they just can't. The industry just can't have it. They need to reproduce more humans for the thing. Do you mean?
I honestly don't even understand why they like it. You want me to wake that? There.
Yeah.
I'm like,
good call.
I'm like, it's one of those things where I think, you know, like, I'm not a big conspiracy head, but there's a part of me that's like, does think there is like a system that's in place.
Yeah.
And because we are living in a consumeristic world, there is that you're talking about. So like, you know, like the media and all these things that are out there are basically kind of brainwashing people to think that they need to, like, that's why people, like, you hear comedians and talk about like, oh, I'm single, like it's a bad thing, or like, oh, you know, like, you know, people have been taught by society to believe that you need a partner to be whole, or you need a family to be whole, or that's what success is to have this like family picture. And I mean, then you see like all these like true crime stories, and it's like these people like had it, and then they fucking realized it was bullshit, and then they fucking murder their whole family. And it's like, I'm not saying that's what always happens, but I'm just saying, it's like, I think the individual needs to define what's happy for them, and just because somebody tells you this is what is happy doesn't mean it is, you know. And like, for me, when I was a little girl, I didn't, you know, my sister played with dolls and wanted to have a house and a picket fence and a family, and I love her for that, and I love my niece, and I love her family, and I love like that satisfies her and fulfills her. But she's also an artist. She does tattoos, and she's fucking hella dope. Right. You know, and you can do both also. But I just never was like that. When I was a little girl, all I cared about, and all I still care about, is just having a fucking like dope car, driving in the desert, having a dog, basically being Mad Max.
Okay, yeah. The picture's framed nice.
I just wanted to be like a female Mad Max, and just like, I've always romanticized that notion of just fucking freedom. Freedom is the highest for me. It's like, there's nothing that is more important in my life. So I don't think, even for me, like, I realized over years that relationships don't even work for me, because I'm too I put freedom above that even, so it's not really compatible with most relationships. Like, I would have to find somebody who really gives me a lot of freedom, but I've never met that person, and I don't trust most people, so I don't you know.
Your creative endeavors, and where you know, we've talked as far as you being up around Portland and migrating down to Frisco. Do you think that freedom, that feeling of freedom creatively, expressively, as an individual, is that the catalyst? Is that the engine that keeps you, you know? I
think it's 100% my motivation. Is probably part of my downfall as well, because it is hard to be the kind of her, like, for instance, just, I'm unwilling to give up a lot of my personal freedom as far as even style to, you know, like, work. Right. And to do a lot of things that, you know, like, I'm sure there's some jobs I could do looking the way I do, but I know that there's a lot of things I can't because of the way I look. But it's you make sacrifices to do what you want in life, and I'm very stubborn, very stubborn, and it's because freedom is number one. And I just think that my brain just can't comprehend some things. Like, I don't understand. I always wanted to do a documentary of like hair, for instance, like how simple it is that just something like this hair can like get you hired or get you fired or get you not hired. You know what I'm saying? It's like I'm gonna do the same performance that anyone else would, or that I would with if I wore a wig. Like, I could just put a wig on and get a normal regular job, and I'm the same person. I understand that it's not professional, but it just oh, hi, lights.
So, cue lights.
I needed this side of my face lit. Thank you. But I'm just saying, I'm just saying, like, this is fucked up that it's so crazy. You know, I know Chris Rock, I think, did a documentary of the black hair one, and I think it's like the similar thing. You know, it's like people of African heritage have you know, get fucked with if they get dreads. They can't get certain jobs for certain hairstyles and shit like that. I mean, it's not as bad as it used to be, but I mean, there's still that stigma, and it's like, does it change their ability to do their job? No. You know, like, I mean, I get it if I guess maybe in some jobs, if you're serving food or whatever, I mean, just fucking hairnet it or whatever. But like, I don't know, it's just shit like that. I'm not willing to like give up a lot of my, I don't know, that for a lot. I'm very stubborn.
I get you. I get you. And again, mirroring countless conversations I've had in the past with artists and musicians, you know, to have the freedom to be able to do the things you want to do at no compromise to yourself, and not putting anybody else out. More importantly, that's the golden. That's the zeitgeist, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And I mean, there might be times in my life that I am bored of doing this and I want to look more normal, or I want to, like, you know, tone it down and just be comfortable and not maintain a look or whatever. But that still should be my choice. I don't want to have to do it because I'm forced to do it and it pleases someone else. You know, that's what my whole life is, just against pleasing anyone else. That's the problem. I'm just like, I do me. I mean, why the fuck is, like, life is short, and people spend so much time trying to make other people happy, when in reality you can't make anyone else happy. You can only do yourself. So, you know, like, I focus on what I can do to be happy in my life, and other than that, like, I mean, if I didn't do that, I don't understand what the point of my life would be. I don't know.
Do you talk to your parents? You in touch?
I do. I talk to my mom on it, like, a lot. She calls me a lot. You know, like, we had a rough past. You know, like I said, I was in foster care, but I always forgave her because also for me, and I always say this, is like, you know, I don't care, like, what, you know, she did when I was a kid, you know, like, whether it be, you know, abuse, neglect, you know, whatever kind of shit. I don't like foster care because that was worse for me. That was way more traumatic.
Did you know any different, though? Was there a period where you knew enough that you knew that foster care was wrong?
Oh yeah, I mean, the whole time. Like, I mean, just because for me, at least, my mom, I did feel that she loved me. I just think she was taught wrong by her family, so she didn't really know how to be, you know, like, a loving parent. And so she had me when she was 21. Like, you know, that's hella young. When I think about that now, I'm like, dude, like, I was fucked up when I was 21. Like, I couldn't imagine, you know? And and, you know, her and my dad were fucking partying, and like, you know, they didn't stay married. She had a bunch of different boyfriends, whatever. So I'm just like, you know, that was fine for me. And, you know, then being in foster care is just with these people that are paid to take care of me, that don't really give a fuck about me. And like, the last foster home I was in was so, I've never felt more like a bacteria. Like, I felt like a disease. Like, I was an actual disease in their house. Like, I needed to erase my fingerprints if I touched anything. Like, I was like a contamination to them.
Literally.
Yeah, and it was like really bad for my emotional state. And I'm sure that's what led to me, like, starting to really, like, you know, like I experimented with drugs and alcohol starting in foster care, but like I really got heavy in them even just in foster care in high school, just because living with those people made me feel like I didn't want to exist, you know.
It's unthinkable, and to anyone that's not been in that situation, it's some people, they go through it in their lives and know no different. It sounds like to me that you've been really conscious of the decisions and the things that you've made throughout your life. Again, freedom comes back into it. I asked a question about your family because with all of that freedom, do you feel like, well, I guess it's not the case because you were fostered, but you know, do they feel an impact of like you turning out the way you have in the way you think?
You mean my family?
Yeah.
I think so, but like, you know, like I think my mom kind of freeze-framed a part of like me into like still a child, you know, like in her mind she kind of still imagines I'm like this baby, and she like is always still like, be careful and stuff like that. I was like, yo, like I was like homeless and like all this shit for decades, and like I'm fine now. You know, don't worry about me now. Worry about me back then.
Yeah, totally.
I've survived so much shit. I'm not saying I can't die now. Like there's horrible shit out there still, but I'm just saying like I am fucking careful now. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Do they do that a little bit as you kind of you walk away from the burnings of like before?
Yeah, and it's like, well, the thing is like, I don't know. Like I think. I mean, I know she wants to make up for like things that happened back in the past and like, you know, really care now, but I'm like, it's late for that, but like we can still be friends, but like, you know, and like I still appreciate what she did for me when I was a kid, but I'm just like, but for me, like I have such pride in taking care of myself for all those years that it's offensive. That's if somebody tells me to like be careful. I'm like so offended by it. I'm like, like I fucking lived in abandoned buildings out on the street. I hitchhiked by myself all the time. I was fucking in a crack house. I was like doing all this shit. Like I fucking went through shit. Like I am fine now. I am so careful now. I hole up in my apartment. I'm like a fucking old ass lady watching crime shows like, all the time. And I've always been paranoid, and I think that's why I survived the streets for so long, because I never trusted anybody. And I mean it's fucked up to be like that, but I knew that there was predators out there, and I was always like careful about it. Like, I mean, not saying that even if you're careful about it, bad shit couldn't have happened. I was also lucky somehow, you know, 100%. Like, because you can fucking get all the things, all the preparations, you know, study karate, whatever, and some fucked up shit could still come down on you.
There's something about the edge of being, you know, up against it so badly that it makes you fight that a little bit harder, doesn't it? In that time between, you know, moving out and heading down to here to LA, what's been the craziest experiences that you've had in those scenarios you talked about, you know, crack houses and situations of...
I mean, like, one of the craziest things that I also haven't really talked about on other shows and stuff too is like getting out of like, this is a situation where one day I was hitchhiking from San Francisco north back to Seattle, and like this was like my mom had a place and I was gonna crash at her place, and I was still a junkie back then though, so but I was like trying to like, I used to try to quit all the time by doing speed, so I'm like, I'm gonna fucking stop doing heroin for a while, let me do some of the speed for a while. So I think I was like on a month speed bender. And so I started hitchhiking. And so I started hitchhiking, and luckily I got picked up by some tweaker truck drivers. And they're like, I remember this one ride, this guy fucking driving a big fucking truck. He pulls over and he's like fucking geeked the fuck out. And like, I was like, oh, this is going to be fun. Cause he just like, the minute I get in the car, he's yelling at another car when he's trying to like exit back onto the freeway. He's like, fuck you, motherfucker. He's getting all fucking waving at this guy. I was like, oh shit. He's like, hey, you want to do some lines? I was like, fuck yeah, I need to stay awake. So
no
like,
way.
Yeah, so me and him just did a bunch of lines, and like, it was a fucking fun ride, honestly. Once again, like, truck drivers are so known for fucking being rapey, but I'm so lucky. Nothing bad ever happened to me. Every guy friend I know that ever hitchhiked got raped by a truck driver.
No way.
Like, I think this is the thing, is I think a lot of truck drivers were like cool with me because they were hoping I was a dude. That's what I think was going
Really?
on there. I'm just saying, because all the dudes I know got fucked with. And I used to dress back then kind of more like when I'd hitchhike, I'd wear a beanie and baggy clothes and my skateboard, so I probably look like a little boy.
Right.
And then I'd get in the car and they'd be like, oh, that ain't a boy. You know, and they'd be like, whatever, let's
But
get
you might
high.
as well have some lines with me then.
Yeah. So I get high with them and hang out. And then, you know, so that guy, he was actually, well, my dad was a truck driver too, and I on and off stayed with him. So this guy, and my dad did meth too, so he kind of reminded me of my dad.
Uh-huh.
So I was like, you know, growing down with him. Then, you know, he drops me off. So that was the end of that story right there. And I was like, oh, this is cool. You know, that was a good ride. But he drops me off. Like, I think I was by Portland, but I was trying to get to Seattle. That's another 300 miles.
Mm-hmm.
And this lady, hot, like, Latina lady in a fucking super hot, like, Trans Am picks me up. I'm like, women never fucking pick you up. This is so cool.
Yeah.
She picks me up, and that was a dope ride, but the problem is she dropped me off in a neighborhood south of Seattle called Tacoma. Tacoma in the 90s was like where crack just really hit. It was just like, it was worse than the Tenderloin in San Francisco, I swear. It was like and that was bad. It was just like, it was some next level crackhead shit. And I knew I was in danger when I got there. And I mean, this was coming from a person that had already been living on the streets for a while, but I was like,
some shit, you know?
I was like, oh no, this is going to be bad. This is going to be real bad. So I was like, literally in my mind thinking, like, every, like, you know, couple seconds, I'm sitting at a gas station or something thinking if I should, like, get back on the freeway and continue to hitchhike, but it's illegal to hitchhike on the freeway there. And I was like, I could get swooped by a cop.
Right.
And, you know, I got some drugs on me, and I probably don't want to do that. I'm either going to do that or I'm going to sleep in a bush. I don't know what, and wait for the sunlight to come. Because also, even if I do go on the freeway, it was too dark for anyone to see me. So I was like, fuck, dude, this is dangerous. So I'm like sitting there, and then every few minutes, like, a dude would walk up and be like, sup, what are you doing? What you need? You know, like, I'm like, oh shit, dude. Okay. I was like, one of these guys is going to rape me. Let me figure out which one is going to be the least trouble for me. That's how my mind was thinking. I was like, this is happening tonight. And I was just like, then one guy was like, come up to me, and he had a limp, and I was like, I could probably run from that one. Okay. So, cause he was like, oh, I got to get you out of here. And, you know, he acted like he was all worried for me. And honestly, I think in the beginning he took me to a Greyhound station. He was like, I'll get you a ticket. You can't be here. Like, you little white girl fucking looking all young. You're going to get fucked up.
Get got, yeah.
And I was like, I know. And so he took me there. The Greyhound station was closed. And he's like, okay. He's like, well, you can hang with me for a while. Like, I'll take you around, but, like, you know, we got to get you somewhere safe. Yeah. And I was like, okay. So I was like walking around with him. He's selling crack while we're doing that. Like, he's customers coming up to me. I mean, the dark, it's already like getting, you know, night. It's late. There's like, you know, like some crackhead ladies all like, tell him that I got fucking, like, I got gold. Look at this gold. And I was like, I don't know what real gold is. I'm broke too. I don't know what the shit, like, she's like trying to get me to like verify that it's real. I'm like, I don't know. And then he's like, listen, I got to handle some more business. He probably had a re-up or whatever. He's like, you got to, I'm going to stash you in this house right here. So he took me to the crackhead couple's house.
No fucking way.
And they're like, he's like, will you watch this bitch for a little bit? I got to go. And he like, I'm just sitting there in some stranger's house just like,
hiya.
okay. And then he leaves, and the dude is all like, you want a hit of this crack?
Yeah.
And straight up, like, I had been doing dope and coke and speed and meth, all that shit, but I never smoked crack because I was like, this is just dangerous, you know?
It's just
like, it's all bad, but like, you know, back then I was like, but crack, that shit's different.
That got the biggest publicity for the whole of the 80s pretty much. So
right,
it's like no bad
you know?
rap.
So I was like, I don't want to do that shit, but the guy said it like, he first he was like asking, then he was like, I said, you want to smoke some crack? And I was like, okay.
Oh no.
So I like took a hit of crack, and I was just like, oh Lord.
Yeah.
And it like, you know, the first time you smoke crack, it's like PCP.
I don't know.
Fucking go into like a white cloud. It's like, it's weird. That's why people always want to keep smoking crack, because like it's the first time it's like super crazy. It's because I smoked crack a bunch of times after that, not right afterwards, but later on in life. I tried it on other occasions. Like, no, this is weak. I don't like it. But
because the first time is just like.
But the first time is like, I don't know how to explain it, but it literally feels kind of like you're in a cloud.
Really?
But it's like some like kind of ecstasy cloud. You're just all up there like, hey.
Wow. yeah, by comparison of being like in a room with somebody that's about to shoot if you don't take some crack, it's kind of, that's kind of all right.
But yeah, well, then after you do it, you kind of don't care. You're like, I could die.
Did you feel vulnerable at that point? Because you were
no,
in
because I just
place.
wasn't even in my head. And then the dude that was watching me, or that was helping me before, came back, and then he started like really like trying to like spit pimp game at me and be like, he's like, you know what? He's like, because he started smoking some crack, and then he started thinking some things, and he was like, you know what? You're kind of cute. You know, when I really look at you, it's like if we cut your hair and we take you shopping, we get you all fixed up, you could be one of my girls.
Oh my God.
You know, he was like thinking of pimp me, but I'm all fucked up, and I'm like, yeah, man,
Jesus.
that could be cool. All right. He's like, yeah, we could get you some cute clothes, get you some nice hair. I was like, yeah, man, all right. And then I was like, I snapped out of it. Like I was like, wait, no, I can't be here.
Yeah.
No, this is not this is not my stop. I need to get out of here. And then
wow, that was just like the hand of the gods just pulling you out.
But then he's like, oh yeah, right, I forgot about that. He's like, let me take you. My cousin goes to Seattle for the to work in the morning. So he takes me up there, and then he's like, oh, my cousin has to do one thing, and then he can take you up there. So he's like, we gotta wait in the house for a minute. Then that's when the shit tried to go down. Because then he's like, I was so tired because, like, remember I'd been on speed for a while, and then I was like fucking turn it back on. And so I was just crashing hard, and like the crack probably made me crash too. So and like I saw the bed in this apartment, and I was like, oh, I want to be in that bed. And I just like laid down, and then he laid down with me, and then he was like trying to like, you know,
no way.
Yeah, he's trying to get me. And and then he was like, fucking dude, like, you know, just trying to rape me pretty much. And I like started crying. I was like, dude, this is fucked up. He's like, you acted like I'm gonna rape you. I'm like, but you are. And he was like, no. And he was like trying to argue with me, but finally I like was like, no, this guy, he had that hurt leg. I'm out of here. So I just fucking like shoved him off me, grabbed my stuff.
Well, you knew you could bail pretty quick.
By all this time going on, at the end of it, I was like able to escape and get on the bus and head to Seattle, because it was already morning by then.
Does anything,
sorry, that was such a long story.
Does anything phase you though? Does anything phase you at all? Like this is just sounds like another component to like just a crazy road with.
No, I mean like the shit that I seen, I can't. Like no. I don't know. I don't think. I mean, I'd probably have to go to like some really gnarly, even gnarlier place than that. Like, I mean, I've seen shit on Vice that I was like, ooh, if I was there, that would fuck me up. You know, Vice magazine documentaries.
Yeah, of course,
you know?
yeah, of course.
Fucking, like cannibal fucking gangster shit, you know, whatever.
Oh, yeah, exactly. The kind of shit that you're just like, no, this shouldn't even be on TV.
Right. Yeah.
So, landing in LA, because, you know, let's fast forward a bit here. You know, you got into the stripping game. You got into the alternative modeling
let me go
game.
back. I got into stripping in Portland, and in Portland, Oregon, it was like, you know, like I was saying earlier, it was just basically like a beautiful wonderland for dancers. It was basically, I could make all my money on stage. I never had to do lap dances. Not that, you know I have a lot of friends that do lap dances. I just didn't like doing them. I'm not an intimate person. I like kind of like distant love now. Anyway, you know, like I like to tease from afar. So that was my thing, and I did it really well, and loved it. And then so I also got sober from all the drugs in Portland. That was in 2001. It was 2/20/01. So I just got 19 years sober this month.
Wow, congratulations.
Yeah, crazy, right?
Mad.
Who does that?
After so much.
A lot of people actually do it. But anyway, so I got sober there, and then, you know, was dancing sober for all those years, but also living in Portland for 9 years sober. You really feel the cold when you're sober. It's horrible. That's why everybody in like the UK and places like that fucking drink.
That's right.
You know, like
nothing else to do.
People in fucking Russians, they fucking have to drink to live where they live. Like Siberia, why would you not drink? I know I wouldn't stay sober if I stayed in Portland any longer. It was killing me to be in that much cold all the time. And so I was just like, that's it. Like one winter, I was just like, I'm not doing one more winter here. That's it.
Really,
and I
you
just,
hit a brick wall. Yeah.
I was like, this is it. I'm gonna murder someone else. Like, suicide is past. Like, I'm not even caring. I'm about murder now.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just like, I'm out before I kill someone because it's making me lose my mind.
Yeah.
You just get dark.
Yeah.
It's like 9 months of never seeing the sun, and you're just like,
Yeah, totally. There's this opposite effect as well, because in Norway and places north in Sweden, there's some summers where they don't have any dark. So people drink to get themselves to sleep because the sun's always out. And then they go into like these crazy psycho things.
yeah, that would be kind of weird too, I think.
It's completely
yeah.
it's the same shit, but
we
opposite way.
need this day and night thing, that rhythm.
For real.
You know? That's why I don't like Vegas either. Their 24-hour bullshit. Like, what time is it? Nobody
Pumping
knows.
CO2 into the air and
Like, it's like they lock you in like every time you work in Vegas, it's like there's no clocks anywhere, and they do that on purpose to keep people gambling and spending money. It's like so weird. I don't like it.
Have you ever stripped in Vegas?
Yeah, and I didn't like it because it's all hustle there. It's such a different world, and it's like, it's just really sharky. I've never been a person who cares a lot about money. Even when I started dancing and I was making a lot of money, I didn't focus on the money. I always focused on having fun. I really enjoy having a good time. And I mean, that was like a natural, easy job for me because I like entertaining people. I just love it. Like, you know, some girls like get nervous before they dance, have to get drunk. I'm just like, if I see a crowd waiting to see a stage show, I'm ready. Like, I don't even need to get ready. I'm just ready.
Is there any anxiety?
Them.
Like,
no.
Is there any thought of like what could? Because when I think of stripping in the US, it's a far cry distance from the UK and some of Europe. There's this. It's like you're owned almost. You can be touched. You can be rained on. Like, it's kind of anything goes, right?
Yeah, no. In Portland, that was the reason I also loved Portland. Portland had it figured out. Okay, this is why Portland is better than any other place in the world to be a dancer. Not anymore, because it's not as much money as it used to be, and it's oversaturated.
We're going to get into this, yeah.
But Portland's laws are you get full nude, but customers aren't allowed to touch you. Not at all. And most of the clubs actually enforce that. So, like, if a customer tried to touch me in Portland, a bouncer would break their arm. You know, drag them outside, pepper spray the shit out of them. Everyone knew better than to touch a dancer. Like, you don't even try to put a tip in a G-string. You'll just get grabbed and drug the fuck out. And
without your money.
I loved that. I loved it so much. I was like, I don't come here to get touched. I come here to entertain y'all motherfuckers. You just sit there and watch this shit. You know? Like, also, I move too fast for people to try to tip me or touch me. I'm fucking dancing. Like, I'm going off. I'm doing pole tricks, flipping around, dancing. I was like, people have tried to tip me before, and they like try to put it in my G-string here, and I'm like fucking like in movement, and it's like ripping my panties off. I'm like, you're an idiot.
Get the fuck out, yeah.
Like,
but where did that culture come from? I mean,
it was honestly
Atlanta. Atlanta had like this real kind of currency to that kind of.
I think Portland just had its own thing for a minute. That
so it wasn't bugged by anything else.
No, it was just. I think it was just brought on by just that moment because it's not the same anymore, and you know, then when I moved here in 2010, I thought I could bring a little bit of that Portland down here and maybe get some people into dancing this way. Because I had already researched how it was here. I came down here a few times and went to strip clubs and saw how they were. And I was like, oh, I'm going to have to, you know, like, I'm going to have to, like, make less money for a while.
Take the hit.
Yeah.
Because you're in new territory.
Yeah. And I was like, but like, I thought that when I first started dancing in Portland that I kind of inspired the change a little, you know, like I know it wasn't all me. It was like and that's why it was the group of a bunch of different girls that made it work, and the kind of DJs that we had, because the DJs were really influencing too, and just all the different types of music that were out at the time.
Sounds like a real moment in time.
It was, because it's just like, you know, like, you can't start a scene.
Yeah.
You know, like I had a guy move here a while ago. Like I knew this guy, and he wanted to start a new rock scene like they had here in the late 70s, early 80s. And I was like, you don't get to pick that. That's gonna happen or it's not.
It's true.
Like, you can't make that happen.
That's trend. It's people, and it's their decision.
Yeah, and the reason why, you know, Portland happened the way it did at the time was just because of all the people at that time were thirsting for that. That was what everyone needed and wanted, and it happened. And it was just it was totally organic, you know? And so I couldn't come down here and make that happen.
No.
And I did. It's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
like I wholeheartedly thought I could, but I thought I could like help inspire a few other people to like work together to try to make it happen.
Which kind of is what you set out and kind of what
It
went
almost
down.
kind of did. It almost kind of. It started to pop off. Like we almost started to have something, and then the state of California decided to make us all employees and fuck up the whole game.
Right, so what is this all about? Because this is the real point of the conversation, the crux of it. Because you've come full circle in your career. You've alternative modelling, stripping, ambassadors for so many things, your own brand, and like what it really hinged on was your expressiveness, and that was kind of your stick, right? You know what I mean?
It's LA.
We ho, baby! Come on!
That's the party sound.
Yeah. And cue fire engines. Right,
No,
yes.
so
Because that was your bag, right? So now you're in this situation,
as a dancer for over 15 years, we were independent contractors. We basically rent the stage, we rent the DJ, we rent the bouncers. That's how it come. We have to pay a stage fee, tip out the bouncer, tip out the DJ. That's the way that should work.
Yeah.
That's how that business model works.
And works well, yeah.
It works perfectly. I've always been, and I'm gonna get in trouble with the union that's developing for saying this, because there's a strippers union developing in California, and I love them, support them, and this is what needs to happen. They're not gonna like that I keep saying this, but I'm an anarchist, so I'm always gonna say this, that I still don't agree with strippers ever being employees. Now that we are, though, now that we fucking are, they have to fucking treat us right. Because if you're gonna make people employees, you got to treat them right.
You know what I'm saying?
Because, it's going to take too much time to try to reverse that law. That law is here now. So now we have to make that law.
And respect it.
It's because it's like if you had any other employee situation, the reason why there's unions is because the people that employ people are fucking money hungry and they don't care about the people that work for them. That's what always happens. So they're just fucking now. They're taking all these dancers, like most of the clubs here, they force girls to do lap dances to get shifts and to get, and they use that lap dance money to pay their minimum wage. There's some clubs.
That's fucked up, bro.
The what do you call them? I think the Deja Vu clubs, I think it is. I'm not sure if it's that. Don't quote me on this. One of the clubs, a girl said the name and I'm senile. You have to customers put the money in a booth that the seat is in. The girls never get to touch the money. They don't get to touch it. So it's the club's money, and then the club pays the minimum wage and then gives the girls a percentage of how many dances they get a night.
What?
Hell no. Hell no.
That's not how it should
Hell
work.
no.
Why has this all happened? Why?
Because there's a law passed, it's AB 5, it's called it. It was started over the Uber driver, Lyft driver people, basically making them employees because the government wants their tax money. That's what it's all about. Now, there's another way to go about that, though. The way they do it in Vegas is cool. Like, you have to fill out a tax thing, sheriff's card in Vegas to work. You pay money through that. You don't have to pay it to the club. Like, I don't think the employer should handle it. That's just your pimp. You're pimped.
Yeah,
You're pimped
totally.
then. And so I'm working with some people that have lawyers, because I don't have a job. I ain't got no money now. But I'm working with some people that have lawyers to try to help them change the law. This one part of the law, because we're not going to change that whole law, we're going to still be employees. So what we have to do now is also get rid of the definition where employers of strip clubs are saying that they own the dances. They provide customers with lap dances. But I argue that no, because say you were a restaurant, and yes, you can provide macaroni and cheese, and you can even do it without a waitress. But as a strip club, the lap dance is the macaroni and cheese. Can you give that without a dancer? No. So she owns that. And there's no way the club can say they provide the macaroni and cheese when they don't have macaroni and cheese without this. We is the macaroni and cheese. So I'm just like, this shit needs to get known, and like the people that write laws also need to understand that we have to work on the public view of how they perceive strippers, because they don't understand that it is a job like any other. And and I don't want us to be, like I said, I don't want us to be employees, because I think it's going to kill the boner for a lot of dudes. And for a lot of people it is, because it's like no one wants to think that we're doing a job.
Yeah, that's right.
That's not the fantasy. That's not the fucking fantasy.
It's true.
So hopefully the industry won't get fucking completely killed by this, but it probably will.
Yeah, it's really hitting it on it's on a
it's true,
spread now.
but because the way that you perceived dancers before was these free agents that wanted fucking fuck you or dance for you,
or at least were there on their own accord, and not
Yeah.
because they were being paid to
and not 'cause
paid
they're
to do it.
forced to do it, and it's part of their job. Like, you know, have you guys seen the movie Idiocracy? It's
No.
Mike Judge made this movie, and he's a fucking genius. You know, it's like this movie where basically it's not animation like he normally does, but it's a live action movie, and it's about the dumbing down of humanity. So it's like the two stupidest people, like, or average stupid people, get like cryogenically frozen, and then they like the dumbing down of society happens over time, and when they're unfrozen, it's like way stupid.
That's amazing.
And so it's like they're like the smartest people at the end of it, and it's basically what this movie was made early 2000s, and that's where we're at now.
The irony
is like, I think everything that he did in this movie is predictable and true. So like at the end of the movie, it's like Starbucks provides a latte, and a latte is like a hand job. And I'm like, that's what stripping is going to be in the future. It's just going to be like, if they keep it this way, so as an employee, like, it'll be basically like a fucking line of dudes waiting to come in, get their fucking lap dance, fucking whatever, and then it'll be like drive-through lap dances, and people will just get that fucking service real quick. And that's taking the art out of it, taking the actual personality out of it, just making it a fucking job. Cool. Like, let me put on my hat and, how do you like it, sir? Would you like your lap dance like this, or would you like it like this?
Yeah, totally. Bullshit. It's not what it's about.
Like, have them fill out a menu of it. Like, do you want?
Yeah. Do you want salad with that? You know.
Yeah, and would you like it supersized?
Yeah. It's. I think that's America as a whole. Like, coming here for God knows how many times. There definitely is a shift, particularly in L.A. Like, there's the new culture of weed, and that drifting into society. There's also the binge watching of programs and always being on the phone and not really thinking things through as clear as you should be. And then there's the gentrification that's making it hard for everybody to try and stay afloat. And I just feel like, man, the like you say, for cultures to build and organically grow, you need earth, and you need cultivation, and it just feels like there isn't that time for this at the moment here. It's LA's a funny place. So when you talk about this as a scenario with stripping, I can only recognise that it's only too real, and will become around the corner very quickly, won't it?
Yeah, it will. And I mean, we'll see in a couple years if the union could do anything to help. Yeah. It's going to be hard for them to fight all the things that need to be fought, and it's like, who knows, like, what the industry will even be left with after it's all said and done, you know? Like, I just, like, maybe I'm older and I don't want to see change, but at the same time, it was I just really wish people had, like, looked at the model that Portland had and tried to, like, do that, because it was beautiful, And I don't know. I feel sorry for any girls that want to be a dancer now, because they'll never get to do it the way I did it.
Yeah. And all these things are, like, set in stone as, like, glory times, especially in places like LA as well, where it's like everything has historical reference points and beautiful.
Well, yeah, and now they're tearing all those historical places down, and everything's getting replaced with mass production and just generic, like, TV program shit, like that it's just trendy, so it won't last. Like, they, I'm like, when they tear down the Rainbow Bar and Grill, it's fucking over.
It's over. The game's over.
It'll be over.
But they've used that. That's now like a historical. They can't knock it down.
But this generation doesn't care about history, and that's the problem. Is, like, I mean, not all of them are, but, like, a lot of them don't really care that much about it.
Yeah, they've been neutralized hard.
It's just it's just like, I have friends that are kind of like younger, and I try to show them some of those old movies that I talk about on my YouTube channel, and they just don't care. They want to watch the movies that they already seen.
Yeah, that's right. Which
and it's really weird.
Might add, so you've got a YouTube channel popping at the moment, old school VHS videos.
Yeah.
You talk about them and give them the spotlight so that people have the opportunity to discover the real instead of the reproduced.
Right, and just everything's CGI now, but if people would go back and appreciate the special effects and the shit that they did back then, it's so much cooler.
Oh yeah. If you repeated that into now's movies, I don't know. It's all about the script as well, isn't it? It's so important that it has a storyline to it now. Otherwise, it just becomes junk food, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, definitely they still do have some good shows and movies nowadays, but I don't know. I think they make everything now so it's like fast food where it feels good in the moment, but it doesn't really resonate. Whereas I think a lot of the movies that I grew up on, they really affect even your personality. You just become character from these old movies, but it's
That's so true.
yeah, it's I don't know, nowadays it's I don't know, they're just not a lot of things that I watch in the now are really wow, I want to be like that, or, live that life. If you try to imagine yourself living on set of any of your favorite movies, how many of those movies are from right now?
It's true. Yeah.
I mean, I guess the only ones that would be from right now, they're in some super futuristic kind of cool place.
Yeah, totally.
But
something else.
Living in this time period isn't I mean, it's cool. It has a lot of coolness, but in a movie sense, it's not cinematic.
Do you think a lot of this? Well, yeah, I get it. Social media is something that is an escape for people. You've totally harnessed this with your brand, with your Instagram, the alternative model look, the tattoo culture, the punks, and that whole genre and world that you came from. It's aided you. It's helped build a brand and structure to something that probably up until now it had a direction, but it couldn't be utilized in the same way. Now you've got a platform that you can really do some of the most forward thinking shit with.
I know, but it nips me in the butt at the same time, because there's a lot of other girls that are descriptively the same as what I do, but because I have opinions included in mine, that's why I have so many haters, and I get reported a lot. I've had 8 different Instagram accounts completely removed and had to start from zero.
No way.
Yeah.
What?
In the lifetime of Instagram. Yeah, it's my first Instagram, I think, was just Malice 666. That was probably the first one. And then it was Malice in Hollywood and Malice something. I had a whole bunch of different ones I've had to restart over and over.
Way.
Just people hating.
That's criminal. Stop fucking hating. That's what I'm saying. Enough of the hate already.
I'm sure none of the hate, this is the thing, is the people that hate are at the same time, I get it to a degree. It's just, it's just the same as this country. It's just people are so divided, and they'll literally hate someone just the way they look, and they don't even really or some of my opinions or whatever, it's the same thing, people will hate on Kat Von D for some of the things that she stands for, and I love and respect that woman. I don't agree with everything she says, but she does her,
we got Kat Von D as well all day,
and I respect her for standing up for what she believes in, so I mean, I have a lot of friends like that. They're strongly opinionated people, and people will hate on them for it,
You got to stand your ground, girl. And what's awesome about the whole brand and creating that you're constantly turning out is it's been self-built, and you've done it from the jump, and it's authentic.
And I never knew it would be liked in the first place. I still just do me. Honestly, I was thinking today, I was like, dude, when last night I was driving to an event, a show downtown, and I got a flat tire on the freeway and nearly died because I was going 60 miles an hour in the fast lane, and I just and my car just slowed down to 20 miles an hour in the fast lane, and I had to fucking put on the fucking flashers and get over, and cars aren't letting you over. They're going fast too, everyone's probably going 60, and I'm trying to slide over to the slow lane, and luckily there was an exit drivable for me, but it's like hella dark, and I'm in the side, and cars are just swooshing by me, nearly fucking hitting me, and I was just like, bro, I'm like
that's my life story right there, just like buckling around these cars.
yeah, and I'm just like, this is how I die, cool. But I was just thinking about the fact, I was like, you know, I don't use my Instagram like a lot of other people do, and I don't make money from it. It kind of sucks, but I need to probably start. Like, I hate it because I don't want to ever like kind of sell out and be too promote-y on my page, but also I can't afford to fix my fucking tires.
It's I'm
like, this is like how real I am. People think like, oh, she lives in LA, like her life looks so fun, she's got money, this and that, and I'm like, bro, I haven't worked in 2 months, I have no job right now, I have no money. I'm not saying PayPal me, but PayPal me. No, I'm just kidding. But I'm just saying, like, it's rough out here for a player.
Well, where do they find you? Where do they find you out here?
I'm official Malice Mc Munn on Instagram. I have an OnlyFans.
Fans strictly to fans.
Whatever that is. We can't talk about that because people just get fucking reported for even mentioning it. And then YouTube, Malice Mc Munn is my video channel, which that name might change, but I have a link in my bio. So.
Unlike that, huh?
Also, Malicious Creatures, my clothing line.
yeah. This is, you know, like I say, strictly the street culture right here. This guy, he's been doing it from the jump. And thank you so much for passing.
No, thank you for coming through town. Awesome to meet you.
Yeah, man. Come on.
Man.